When something is rare, like a rare painting, artist dies, and so they're really not making any more. That's when the value of this painting goes up because you can't get any more. Rembrandt's not painting anymore. He's gone. And so if you want one, you got to buy it from somebody who already has it. You want to keep your Bitcoin secure. You have to work on your operational security. You have to work on being a good custodian. It's like saying, how do I keep my kids safe? Well, you're the parent. You have to be in charge of their safety. How do I keep my house safe? Well, you're in charge of locking the doors, maybe keeping a firearm by your bed. How do I stay safe when I'm walking the streets of New Orleans? Well, maybe don't walk alone if you're an old lady down the French Quarter at night. Walk in a group, walk during daytime. You're in charge of operational security. And if you want to be a fool or an idiot, there's always some scammer out there wanting and willing and ready to take your Bitcoin, just like they're willing to take your purse, your watch, your life, anything else. So you got to be smart. Bitcoin is not idiot-proof. Thieves are always out and about. Don't be an easy target. Like anything else, don't be an easy target. If you look like a hard target, then the thief is going to look for an easier target. He wants to scam people with the least amount of effort. All right, Craig LeBlanc here again with the daily Bitcoin podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern, Sundays through Thursday, Friday-ish, sometimes on Friday. I had a guest host tonight. Morgan was going to be able to make it, but he had to reschedule it for next Thursday. However, following this, I do have, I'm going to be on G Money's show, which is, hold on, I don't want to misrepresent him, so it is called Rug Pull Radio. So tonight at 10:30, I'm gonna be a guest on one of my guests' show, Rug Pull Radio. So I'm gonna try to live stream that over through his software onto my X account. So hopefully I can figure that out and y'all can watch that as well. But while I got you here, I did want to answer a few questions commonly asked, especially as I'm bringing in my other community that I work full-time with, and that's the Parks and Rec community. So Park and Rec Industry of America, welcome to the Bitcoin Daily Show. Welcome to the Bitcoin community. I very well may be the only Bitcoiner that you guys are watching, but I'm hoping to change that. I'm hoping to bring y'all more into this community because I know y'all are municipal government. A lot of times y'all aren't on this edge of the universe. And me and my fellow Bitcoiners welcome you. And so some of the common questions, matter of fact, I got this question today, and I'll just go ahead and answer it. So a lot of these are going to be kind of simple questions for Bitcoiners. Now, if you're looking to go a little bit more in depth, I highly recommend Jeff Booth. I mean, I've listened to this guy. I listened to about an hour and a half of his today on a podcast, and he is just he explains this stuff so well, and he really does take you further down the rabbit hole. So a couple other things I can recommend for those looking to go a little bit deeper. Definitely The Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean. Lynn Alden is another great book she just released not too long ago, Broken Money. Of course, if you're looking for a financial education that's simple and cheap, meaning it's free on YouTube, Richest Man in Babylon will give you a good understanding of how to build wealth. This is an old book. I'm trying to think when this book came out. Probably, I don't know, 80 something years ago. I'm trying to look on the publishing date. 1955 was the first release. So quite an old book. But, a lot of these wealth generating principles stand the test of time, even in this upcoming digital age. A great example is increase your earning potential, right? Find a way to increase your earning potential. So level up your skill set, stuff like that. That's in that book, teaches you that kind of stuff. And it's really hard to understand Bitcoin if you don't have some financial education, some financial literacy. You should all be working on increasing your financial literacy so that you can understand how money works, how fiat works, how banking works, And then on top of that mountain of knowledge, you could understand how Bitcoin works and why it is such a revolutionary technology invention, engineering marvel that we have today. And that's really is what it is. It truly is an engineering marvel given to us by Satoshi, who also sat on top of a mountain of development in the internet, in the microchip, in electricity, in um, mathematics, cryptography, you name it, privacy, emails, like all of that came together. These were all the basic building blocks that Satoshi took and built Bitcoin. So it really is a study of the history of technology, the history of money, the history of cryptography, um, to understand Bitcoin. And so that's why when people say, I just don't quite get it, but there's so much more that you really don't get that you're going to have to learn to be able to grasp what Bitcoin is. And so that's why a lot of people they come into Bitcoin because it's a way to just get rich, right? They come in for the number go up. That is the simplest component of Bitcoin. You just buy it, you hold it. It's rare. Something rare goes up in value against something common. The dollar is common. It's going to be more and more common because they keep printing more and more, introducing them into circulation, whereas Bitcoin has a fixed supply. And so here's a common question. Why does Bitcoin have value? And just to that point about its rarity, scarcity is where it gets a lot of its values from. It's when something is rare, like a rare painting, and let's say the artist dies, and so they're really not making any more. That's when the value of this painting goes up because you can't get any more. You know, Rembrandt's not painting anymore; he's gone. And so, if you want one, you got to buy it from somebody who already has it, and they may not want to part with it, which makes the value of all Rembrandts go up. Um, so scarcity has a big thing to do with its value. Also, Bitcoin is in demand, meaning that you can always find a seller and not just on the weekdays 9 to 5. You can find a seller 24/7 on many exchanges globally that will love to swap sell you their Bitcoin in exchange for whatever it is they want. If they want local currencies, typically is what they're doing. They're selling it to buy, say, US dollars and to pay their electric bill if they're a miner. So a Bitcoin miner has massive electric bills. It's their biggest bill. They have employees they have to pay, and the electrical companies typically take a local currency like the US dollar. So we have a big power company here in Louisiana. It's called Entergy. They're the biggest electrical grid operator. And as far as I know, they don't take Bitcoin and they only take US dollars. So if I'm plugging in my Bitcoin miner, consuming electricity, and I want to pay that electric bill, I have to convert the Bitcoin rewards that my miner gets. That means I need to sell it. And you could be a buyer of it. And I sell it on an open exchange. Or I could sell it to a local, to just a guy I know. There's a lot of people that buy straight from the miners, and so your asset needs to be in demand. So answering the question, why does Bitcoin have value? It's scarce, it's rare, it's in demand. When is it in demand? 24/7. It's open 24/7. Exchanges, I can sell my Bitcoin, I can buy Bitcoin 24/7 on many exchanges. River, Strike are the Bitcoin only exchanges that I refer people to. Um, and then the use cases, like how is it useful? Well, it does store energy, it stores value. Um, and so if you want to look at it as a store of value, as a means of exchange, and it's very secure, which means it's very challenging to steal. Really, for you to steal Bitcoin, you really have to kind of trick the holder. You have to hope that he has poor operational security and that your scheme or scam or theft is more advanced than his operational security. If you're looking to like crack the code of Bitcoin, best of luck to you. No one's done it yet, and there's a $2 trillion purse that any hacker is welcome to, and so far hasn't been done. So I don't think it's floating around as an easy target if it's stored properly. However, there are some very sophisticated scams, and people are always trying to get you to give them their seed phrase, give you their seed phrase, and then of course they can run off with all your Bitcoin because they have the keys. So note to self: never give your keys to anyone unless you just want them to have your Bitcoin or have access to your Bitcoin, because it's exactly what you'll be giving them, and you won't be able to stop them. Anything that's in that wallet will could instantly leave that wallet if someone has your 12 words. So only give it to someone that you would trust a wad of cash with, a bar of gold with, precious metals, something like that. If you trust them to that point, if they're like a loved one, a spouse, a friend, someone that you're going to leave all this to if you die, then okay, they can have your 12-word seed phrase. And in case you happen to lose it, maybe they can help be part of your operational security, but just let them know the importance of keeping it secret, keeping it safe. Because if anybody else gets a hold of that, boom, it's gone. So why does Bitcoin have value? It's scarce. It's rare. There's only 21 million. There only ever will be 21 million. It's in demand. You can sell it anytime, permissionless, across borders. It's borderless. And it's got a lot of cool use cases. I think it's a pretty cool use case that I can send money overseas outside of banking hours at night on the weekend to someone in a totally another legal jurisdiction, and it just verifies. It doesn't ask permission from anybody, any government, any law, anything. It just you give me your Bitcoin address, I put it into my exchange, I press send, and it just sends, and it verifies that transaction in minutes. So you can send $1 million across the ocean, across geographical and legal boundaries to someone that's either any race, any creed, any age, whatever. If you've got a wallet, it's just going to send it. And to me, that's a pretty cool use case. Oh, and it's secure. Oh, and it hasn't been broken yet, and it's always running. Yeah, that's a great use case. So that's valuable, right? So this is why Bitcoin is value. And people often say, well, what's backing Bitcoin? Well, I like to say the kilowatts backing Bitcoin, because you can't make a Bitcoin without using electricity. You can't make a Bitcoin without using computers, miners, nodes, the network. Like, there's so much you have to go through to get and transmit Bitcoin. And so it's not something that somebody can just say, oh, here's a dollar out of thin air. What's backing the dollar? Some people say the US military, but I'd like to say is what's creating dollars? Just the will of men. Because men decree, because I say so. There are powerful people in this world that say print more dollars. I don't know exactly the chain of command and who all does that, but it's just a few group of men. That's a very centralized authority. Bitcoin, not so. You cannot just say print more Bitcoin. You have to actually work for it. Your computers have to work. You have to keep those computers plugged in. You have to feed those computers electricity. And that electricity, you can't cheat the kilowatt. There is no hacking the kilowatt. The kilowatt demands work to be done. And so that's what's really backing Bitcoin, maintaining its stable value, is the kilowatt. Because at the base layer, it's really just electricity. And that's why a lot of people call this an energy network, a global energy network, I might add. Because you can plug, electricity is electricity, electricity. A kilowatt's a kilowatt. No matter where it's produced, no matter when it's produced, it's a kilowatt. A kilowatt in America, a kilowatt in Africa, a kilowatt in Australia. It's all the same. The computer is agnostic. If you plug it in, it's going to run, right? So it doesn't say, oh, that's not American electricity, I'm not going to, compute. That's not the case. It's just like when you plug any toaster in any electrical grid, it just works. Any heater, it just works. Any Bitcoin miner, it just works. So that's the beauty of it. When you say it's a global energy network, it's turning energy into a store of values, turning energy into Bitcoin. You can turn electricity into Bitcoin. So the base layer is, what are you trading? You're actually trading electricity. And if you think about it, you're actually trading computation, the compute power of your Bitcoin miner. You basically take electricity, compute, turn it into Bitcoin, and then that's what you're trading, right? All right, so that's hopefully that answers your question as to Why does Bitcoin have value? Let's see. How do I buy Bitcoin? This is another question I get a lot. Um, and I know I've said this a bunch of times, but for the sake of knowing that I've got a lot of new people that are new to Bitcoin on my channel in my network, I'm just going to say it again. Like I said, I'm big supporters of River and Strike. I'm big supporters of any Bitcoin only exchange. There's a bunch of them across the planet. So depending on your jurisdiction, just look up Bitcoin only exchange in your country and find the one that only sells Bitcoin. Deal with that one. You open up an account. It's a lot like open up an account to a bank, but it's all online. I'd say it's a lot like opening up a Cash App account or a Venmo account, if you've heard of those. Very similar to that. In other words, they're going to ask for your ID. They're going to they're going to kind of KYC you, know your client, know your customer. It's banking regulations that we have here in America. Not sure what they are across the planet, but um, so they're going to ask you for some identity, and then you need to connect your bank to it. You got to get your local currency. In my case, it's US dollars. Now that I get US dollars on my Strike account, on my River account, I can buy Bitcoin at the whatever the current price is. And they usually charge you about 1%, but in some cases they don't charge you hardly anything. If you like dollar cost average, I think Strike, after you dollar cost average for a week, they don't even charge you to acquire Bitcoin. Now you've purchased it, but you haven't taken custody of it. You haven't taken ownership of it. Someone else is holding it for you. In this case, Strike or River would be holding it. So they're your custodian. They're holding it for you, right? It's just like if you give your gold coin to the pawn shop owner and say, "Can you hold this? I'll be back in a few weeks. I'm going in a dangerous place. Don't want to walk around with my gold coin in my pocket." But if the unfortunate thing happens and the pawn shop gets robbed, chances are they're going to rob everything: his coins, your coins, everybody's coins. And so that's the danger in allowing a third party custodian to hold your coins. That's why most Bitcoiners will say, not your keys, not your coins. You need to take custody of it. So now we're going to talk about taking custody of it. You've taken your US dollars, you've put it in the exchange, you've told them to exchange your US dollars for Bitcoin. They're holding your Bitcoin for you. Then you go to navigate around, you'll see something says send. You want to send your Bitcoin. It's going to ask you for a wallet address. Wallet address. Wallet, you say? What is that? Well, you've got all kind of wallets. If it's a software wallet, let me see. I haven't used a software wallet in so long. I think, it's Blue Wallet. Y'all are gonna make me lie. Um, shoot, it's like a bird. I can't remember. It's not Swan. That's another Bitcoin only exchange. I think it's doing okay, but um, Sparrow. Sparrow is a good wallet, among others. Go to BTC Sessions. He's another fellow YouTuber that does a lot of question and answers on these things. Type in what are the good Bitcoin only software wallets, and that's just like an app on your phone. But we recommend Cold Card. We recommend Trezor. These are the ones that I use. Cold Card is the one that most of the OG Bitcoiners swear by. So if you use Cold Card, this is you can generate a wallet address. This is the wallet address you put into Strike or River, and then you press send. I recommend sending a test payment just to make sure it's all on the up and up. You didn't screw it up. You entered it right. Send $50. Maybe even send it back to the exchange. Practice a little. And now you understand the whole process. There's one last step though. You're going to be given 12 words. Write those 12 words down. Never show them to anybody. Never take a picture of it. Never put it online. You write it down on a piece of paper. You double check it. You triple check it. They have to be in the right order. Typically, there's also like a 4-digit number. You have to remember to get into this. So you want to write that down as well. And then what should happen if your house catches on fire and it's on paper, and then your paper catches on fire, your house floods, and then your paper gets wet, and now you can't read it. That's a problem. So you need to store your seed phrase in something harder, like a steel, tungsten, stainless steel. And there's all sorts of seed phrases, seed phrase. Just type in Bitcoin seed phrase storage, and there's a lot of great companies where you can actually hammer out your letters in stainless steel so they can resist any fire, any flood, stuff like that. Because if you do lose your hardware wallet, you can take those 12 words, go get a brand new hardware software wallet, and it'll say, would you like to enter in your 12-word seed phrase or something like that? And you type that in, and now you have access to everything that was in that wallet that you lost. So really, your Bitcoin is stored up in the network. Those are just the keys to open it up. Okay. But if you don't have the keys, you can't open it up and it's just stuck in there forever. There it is. You just can't, no one can ever access it. So those are kind of the steps. You you get on an exchange, you get your bank connected to it, you buy the Bitcoin, then you send the Bitcoin to a hardware wallet and you store your 12-word seed phrase in steel. And then you can go bury it in your backyard or bury it somewhere where nobody knows, maybe even make another copy of it and give it to someone that you trust with that, have that level of trust with them. There are also good companies, and I'm going to have to remember this. I think Surfer Jim works for, he's just a friend of mine that I met online. Um, I want to say it's the Bitcoin Advisor. Correct me in the comments, please. I think the Bitcoin Advisor is the name of it. If you're afraid of managing all this operational security, there are a couple of really good companies that this is what they do. Do your own research on all of this. Um, I will keep referring you to BTC Sessions as a fellow YouTuber and content creator that gives great advice, Bitcoin only. And he's not going to lead you wrong. Hopefully. Um, Stay strong, Ben. don't ever go to the dark side. That's another one. My poor Bitcoiners, man, they've been betrayed by so many people. They always say, don't trust anybody. Uh, Verify everything, slay your own heroes, stack sats, be humble. And, to be honest, a lot of that's true. Some of the best Bitcoiners that we know have kind of gone to the dark side. Next thing you know, they got a meme coin and they're pumping their bags and stuff. It's a shame to see that happen, but you know, it does happen. So I would just say stack sats, stay humble, trust, but verify kind of thing. All right. What's another one? That's how I buy Bitcoin. There's another question I was asked. Oh, how do I use Bitcoin to buy things? This one. All right. This is kind of where we are in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is right now a store of value. Money is a store of value, means of exchange, unit of account. So when you say, how much is that house worth? People usually, the unit that they account for value is right now US dollars here in the US. So that's like the last stage of money. The middle stage of money, though, is I'd like to buy a hamburger. What do you accept this payment? And predominantly at the cash register, it's dollars. Um, how can I store my value long term? Okay, well, now this is kind of like property. This is when we're talking about gold, real estate, stocks, bonds, property. And this is where Bitcoin has been camping out for like the last 15 years in this store value stage. Um, Recently, I'm going to say recently, probably in the last 4 or 5 years, it's really been coming into this means of exchange. And there's a lot of people, Jeff Booth being one of them, that says, a highly respected Bitcoiner that says, if Bitcoin fails as a means of exchange, then it will fail as a store of value. Um, and I suggest you watch his content and have him kind of lay that out and explain it to you. He'll do a much better job in it than I can. But let's just accept that as a truth that Bitcoin needs to succeed as a means of exchange for it to survive as a store of value. Then this is why you see a lot of Bitcoiners, a lot of the Bitcoin developers working on ways for Bitcoin to be used to buy things for services. Its use cases are exploding right now. This is what we would call like a second layer. So the first layer is where you just buy and hold. Um, it's like the base layer. You're buying the Bitcoin, you're just holding it as a store of value. But the second layer is all these different ways that you can use Bitcoin to buy goods and services. You can trade, and so you'll hear things like the Lightning, which allows Bitcoin to be used for a lot of these means of exchange. There's a lot of different apps that are coming out that allow us to use Bitcoin. And so you're getting ready to see an explosion of use cases built on the the first layer, called a second layer, similar to how websites sit on top the internet. So the internet, when the internet was launched, you just didn't have all these websites, and now you've got all these websites, web developers, and all these different tools that you can use the internet for. But on day one, that wasn't the case. And so, in a very similar way, Bitcoin is just like this first layer. It's just a protocol, and all these use cases are now just exploding. And this is going to continue to happen for a long time. Um, and so, let's see, I forget the question I was asking. Oh, can I use Bitcoin to buy things? Yes, there are a lot of great ways that you can use. Well, I hate to use this as an example, but it's just one that I know. So I don't recommend Coinbase, but this is what I used. They have you can get a debit card, and you can from Coinbase, and you can set it to spend your Bitcoin. So you can have US dollars, you can have all the other shit coins, and you can have Bitcoin. You can hold it on Coinbase on exchange. So if you keep some Bitcoin, let's just say you keep $1,000 in Bitcoin on exchange, you haven't sold the Bitcoin. I mean, you still have rights to it. You haven't taken custody of it. It's on exchange. Third party's holding it for you, but you can tell that debit card that every time you swipe to buy a hamburger, spend the Bitcoin. And notice you didn't have to have any US dollars. It actually converts your Bitcoin to USD at the cash register. And the cash register just thinks that it's just spending dollars. So at that point, with how this works, um, you can buy anything just like it swipes just like a debit card. So if you walk up to a cash register and they take a Visa, then you're in business. You can buy anything. And so that's just one way. And I know there are others that do this. Coinbase was just the one that I recognized first. And this was before I used Coinbase before I even knew about River and Strike. This is when I came into Bitcoin like in 2016. I'm not even sure what were the Bitcoin only exchanges back then. This is when I didn't know the difference between Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies. So I had a Coinbase account all the way from back then. So the answer is you can use Bitcoin to buy anything, because now they have all these payment rails where they're connecting Bitcoin at the payment at the exchange at the point of exchange, to where you can sell your Bitcoin right at the cash register. Now I know there might be some tax implications and all that mess, and yeah, so yeah, it's going to be bumpy, but the answer is yes. Um, let's see, what's the other one? How do I keep my I already answered that one. How do Another question I got was, how do I keep my Bitcoin secure? Well, cold wallets, definitely operational security. Look, you want to keep your Bitcoin secure, you have to work on your operational security. You have to work on being a good custodian. It's like saying, how do I keep my kids safe? Well, you're the parent. You have to be in charge of their safety. How do I keep my house safe? Well, you're in charge of locking the doors, maybe keeping a firearm by your bed. Maybe, how do I stay safe when I'm walking to streets of New Orleans? Well, maybe don't walk alone if you're an old lady down the French Quarter at night. Walk in a group, walk during daytime. You're in charge of operational security. And if you want to be a fool or an idiot, there's always some scammer out there wanting and willing and ready to take your Bitcoin, um, just like they're willing to take your purse, your watch, your life, anything else. So you got to be smart. Bitcoin is not idiot proof. Thieves are always out and about. I will say this: don't be an easy target. Like anything else, don't be an easy target. If you look like a hard target, then the thief is going to look for an easier target. He wants to scam people with the least amount of effort. So if a thief looks at you as, man, that's so little effort to get that purse, that reward, that Bitcoin, then chances are you're going to make yourself an easy target and you're going to lose your Bitcoin. But if you're in the business of making yourself an easy target, then you should be getting stolen from left and right. And I would ask you, well, how do you secure your jewelry? How do you secure your home? How do you secure your bank account? How do you secure cash? everything of value, you should have some level of security around. And so with Bitcoin, you're responsible because it is a bearer instrument, which means he who bears the the asset owns it. If you see a gold coin in somebody's hand, he can spend it right there. So whoever holds your keys, that's who owns that Bitcoin. So um, you're in charge of your operational security. And I think the biggest thing you can do is just education, education, education. It's just like gun safety. What's practice loading, practice storing, practice shooting, practice holstering, practice. The more you use your weapon, the better you are um, when when the thief comes around. And so practice. And I can tell you, Bitcoiners themselves, unfortunately, a lot of Bitcoiners keep their Bitcoin on exchange. That's sad, but true. A lot of Bitcoiners have never reset their hardware wallet, taken everything off, tried to restart it, rebooted it. We're all lazy. So I think, you just have to be disciplined. Unfortunately, sometimes people have to touch the hot stove before they realize, and I'm not immune to that as well. My operational security could be better if I hadn't already lost it all in a boating accident, which was tragic. But at least I'm still out here making content for you guys. Um, is Bitcoin legal? Well, hmm, that's a loaded question. Is English legal? Is algebra legal? Breathing legal? I mean, there are some states that don't like that you're breathing if you're the wrong religion or the wrong sex or the wrong sexual preference. They don't want you to be breathing. In their mind, your life is not legal. It's illegal to be gay in some nations. So what are you going to do? You're going to stop being gay? I mean, supposedly that's one of those things you can't change about yourself. Let's just say you're not allowed to speak English in a certain country. How are they going to stop you from thinking English? And why am I talking about language? Because Bitcoin is code, and code is just a language. So are you going to stop people from thinking? Are you going to stop people from speaking? Because really, that's all Bitcoin is. It really is just code. It really is just language. It's speech. And this has been, I think, the Supreme Court or one of these big U.S. court decisions has said code is language, and language is protected by the right to freedom of speech. So that's just American law. Now, I'm not saying that some jurisdictions won't see Bitcoin as a threat and pass laws that make it illegal, but you know, maybe that's the time to think about civil disobedience. My buddy that I'm having a talk show with here at 10:30, um, I know that's his point of view, is civil disobedience. This is the digital 1776 is one of his slogans, and you should not let anyone muzzle you. You have the freedom to speak your mind, and you should speak it even if it comes with some steep costs. And Bitcoin, really, at the end of the day, is just language. It's just code. That's all you're doing is sending code. It's like sending a text message. So, is sending text message illegal if that's illegal in your country? I mean, right now, aren't there nations that have decreed that a hate crime is misgendering somebody, or a hate crime is really just offending somebody? And so you can go to jail for offending people. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff is illegal that maybe it should, maybe it shouldn't be. Who knows? But you have to decide on your own what risks you want to take. And if you want to continue to live in your cage, then maybe you're comfortable in your cage and you're fine with it. But I can tell you a lot of people, and certainly a lot of Bitcoiners, do not like being told who they can or can't talk to, who they can or what language they can or can't speak. And let me repeat that: Bitcoiners do not like you to tell them who they can and can't talk to. They don't want to ask your permission who they can talk to. And that's why they call this a permissionless system. I don't have to ask anybody's permission to speak to someone on the other side of the planet. And I don't have to ask anybody permission to send any kind of message I want. And Bitcoin does not care. So if I want to speak to someone and send them a message, then essentially that's what I'm doing with Bitcoin. I am sending them in the language of cryptography in Bitcoin. I am sending them information, and that information contains Bitcoin, and I can do it in a permissionless system. Um, and so, there's legal and then there's possible. And so I can tell you this, it might be illegal to have, hold, move, take custody of Bitcoin. But Bitcoin is not checking the laws of the rule books. It's just like, uh, let me simplify this for you. Let's just say it's illegal to plug a toaster into your kitchen countertop. The laws just passed, and by penalty of death, if you plug a toaster in, um, and toast on your kitchen counter, they're gonna, hang you. Do you think the toaster cares? You plug that toaster in electricity and put some toast in it, it's gonna work. Okay. And too bad, so sad that it cost you your life. The toaster does not care. And in a very similar manner, Bitcoin is an emotionless, it's just tick tock next block. It's going to verify the transaction. It's going to send the amount to the address you told it to send it to. And in my mind, that's the beauty of it. And it's going to not even think about the laws that us men have passed on each other. So this is a feature, not a bug. All right. Let me see if there was any other questions. Gosh, how do I answer this? What is Bitcoin? Okay, I'll give it a shot. I mean, it's a digital currency. It's a peer-to-peer network that operates in a permissionless environment. Like I said before, Bitcoin is code, Bitcoin is language, Bitcoin is an energy network that we can use to store value and send value across space and time, um, in this new digital world. Bitcoin is money, Bitcoin is currency, Bitcoin is property. These are all true. And yet, this is very broad descriptions being painted over Bitcoin. I would say one of the strongest that really caught my attention. I can tell you what caught my attention. How about that? Bitcoin is property. Bitcoin is property rights, because think about ownership. Do you really own your home here in America? I mean, don't pay your property taxes and you'll see who owns it. Watch that sheriff department show up and take you home from you. Um, so if you can't control it, if you can't send it to who you want when you want, or if you have to pay taxes or fees or penalties on moving your own property, then do you really own it? Do you really control it? Bitcoin uh, property really comes down to ownership, control. Um, can you move it without getting others permission? Like if you have to ask someone permission to move your property, is it really yours? If you have to ask someone's permission, pay their gatekeeping fee, pay their tariff, pay their tax, get their permission, sign off on their paper, be of the age that they think you should be of the gender or religion or nationality that they agree with. Otherwise, you're not allowed to send your property or sell your property or buy property. I mean, who can everybody buy property here in the US? Answer me that question. Who can buy property in the US? US citizens, maybe there's a few other people, but I don't think everybody, not all 8 billion people can just buy a piece of land in the US. Um, well, on Bitcoin, anybody can own Bitcoin. So when you look at Bitcoin as a piece of property and you think of it as this is digital property, this is digital scarcity, this is land in cyberspace, this is, um, and it's rare. There's only 21 million. Um, Think of it as, let's just say each Bitcoin represents an acre. There's only 21 million acres and you can own it. And once you own this, just go with the analogy, the acre of digital land, No one can take it from you, and you can sell it, and you can cut it up and sell half the acre, half your Bitcoin. You could actually sell 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin. That's like a tiny little blade of grass on this acre, and say, "Here, I'm selling that." That's called a sat or satoshi. It's the smallest, um, for now, the smallest chunk of Bitcoin that you can move. So, um, I like that definition to bet the best, that Bitcoin is property. Um, but it means a lot. A lot of people say Bitcoin is hope, Bitcoin is freedom, Bitcoin is property rights for all. All those are true in my book. And I think there's probably other functions of Bitcoin, describing Bitcoin when you answer the question, what is Bitcoin, that are true. Um, Bitcoin is, you know, Jason Lowery would talk about it. It's an arm. It's like and I don't mean like an arm, I mean like a weapon. It's a defensive weapon. Is it's like a wall. Is a wall a weapon? Well, I can tell you, if you're on a battlefield and you're up on a big wall, and this wall is protecting you from an army charging at you with bayonets and swords or guns or whatever, you're gonna that wall is definitely a weapon. It's a defensive weapon that's protecting you from the enemy. So it's protecting your property, it's protecting your body, it's protecting everything behind the wall. Well, Bitcoin is a digital wall. It's a cryptographic wall protecting your digital property. And to date, it has not been broken. And it's super cheap to maintain, as in you pay one time to get behind this wall of cryptography to protect your digital property. And that's it. Once you're in, you're in. Nothing else. There's zero storage fees unless you move it. Now, if you want to move it and go outside the wall or send it to somebody else, sell your digital piece of property, well, it's going to cost you then. But once it's in forever. It's in for good until somebody moves it. There's no extra fees to keep it up there. There's no monthly fee. There's no annual fee. It just stays there, um, in the Bitcoin network. And so, I love that idea that Bitcoin is a defensive mechanism, a defensive weapon protecting your digital property. I like that concept too. Learned that from Jason Lowery's book, Soft Wars. If you can get a copy of it, man, read that one. Robert Breedlove gave, I don't know, 2 or 3 hour interview with him. If you can watch that, if it's still online. I know he was kind of under attack for even writing that book. And then I think they pulled the book off. So hopefully you still get your hands on it. Um, but if not, watch the interview. I think I've watched that interview 5 or 6 times. Just blew my mind. Talk about open your mind up as to what Bitcoin is and the use cases for it and the power of the invention that it is. Now, I will say this. I'm going to just add this, and I might. Gosh, I can't believe it's been 41 minutes. I've been blabbering on. Bitcoin is um, is many things. It's many things to many people. I will say it will bank the unbanked. It is banking people that are, for the most part, half the world's planet is cut off from banking. They're cut off from being able to exchange goods and services because they can't get US dollars. Now, stable coins are kind of coming in, maybe solving that a little bit. Um, but they certainly are cut off from buying the Fortune 500, buying good property, even buying gold, securing gold. Well, Bitcoin swoops in and solves all that problem for all those people. They're able to buy the most pristine asset that's growing at 65% a year, that is unconfiscatable, or it's can't be stolen, and still very super liquid. And there's another superpower of Bitcoin is its liquidity. It's I mean, you can just instantly sell all your Bitcoin. Like if you just need to sell every Bitcoin you have, I could liquidate and sell 100% of Bitcoin. Let's just say I'm a big Bitcoin holder, and I just say I got to sell all my Bitcoin. I can literally sell it in minutes from my phone, okay, or from my laptop. Um, what other asset can you do? Like, let's say you're trying to sell all your Tesla stock, or you're trying to sell your property, or there's a war going on in your backyard and you got to sell the jewelry store because people are coming to they don't like your religion, or they don't like you as a whatever. And you're like, honey, we got to pack everything and get out of here. They're going to kill us all. Um, and let's say all of your neighbors are doing the same thing. Well, who are you going to sell to? Everybody's leaving the war torn area. Your property is not going to be worth jack. Your fancy jewelry store that might have been worth something before all this chaos started around you. Um, your property is almost gone to zero. Nobody's going to want it. And so now you can't take your property and you can't pack up the two-story building and put it on your back and fly it or float it across an ocean. It's just a loss. It's a total loss. God forbid, like a bomb go off in this thing. Now it's no good to anybody. Not so with Bitcoin. You can put that Bitcoin and memorize those 12 words, throw everything else away, swim across whatever. Wherever you land, you just get a wallet, put in your 12 words, boom, all of your Bitcoin is right there. Talk about a superpower. You can carry around the world's wealth in 12 words. Bitcoin could hold the planet's wealth in 12 words. One 12-word seed phrase could hold all of the Bitcoin. That's its power. That's its potential. And man, what a superpower that is. How about that? Transportable. There's something we don't talk about enough. Is your property transportable? Can you move around with it? What's the cost to move it? Let's say you got a big old real estate portfolio in some big city, and then all of a sudden homeless encampments are next thing you know, camping all around your big skyscraper. And you're like, crap, all my tenants hate having to step over all these homeless people. And it's kind of ruining my vibe here as a landlord. Now I've become a slumlord. And so the property value's gone down. Let's say Mother Nature comes in and just burns the whole neighborhood down. Never heard of that happening. Let's say you're living in South Louisiana and some big storm kicks up a category 3 and all the levees break and it floods and can't get people out, and sounds a lot like Katrina that we went through here in New Orleans. And what does that do to property value? What about looters? What about renters, which sometimes can be looters? So many things that can attack your property, and who is going to buy your property? If you don't want a home in New Orleans, then you're not a buyer for me. I really have to sell to somebody that wants to live in New Orleans if that's where my real estate is. So I have a limited amount of buyers, whereas, man, Bitcoin, that's a global asset that everybody wants, or a lot of people want. And I could sell my Bitcoin to a buyer that wants my property, my digital property in Singapore. Okay. Can't do that with real estate. Can't do that with real estate. And I can't typically sell like one millionth of my real estate, especially if it's just like a single family home. I got to sell all my real estate for the most part. And it takes a long time to put it up for sale. There's a lot of drag. Sometimes it takes 6 months to sell it. Sometimes I get a good price. Sometimes I don't get a good price. I got to pay all the people to, I mean, if you've ever bought a home, a lot of people get paid on the sale of a home. So that's coming out of the sell price, or that's coming out of that transaction. You certainly ain't, $1.50 like Bitcoin could be, or $7 or whatever it is. So it's very cheap to transact in compared to all these other properties that it competes with. And yet it's super liquid. Means I can sell it. I can buy, I can convert all of my US dollars to Bitcoin in minutes. I can sell all my Bitcoin for US dollars going the other direction in minutes. That's a superpower for property. Usually we're talking about currencies and fiat and dollars when we're talking about that speed of transaction. We're not talking about property. This is the first property that we've had that has this kind of superpower, it being this liquid. So yeah, that's a big question. I could probably go on for a long time about what is Bitcoin. Um, it does use blockchain technology. That's a whole nother rabbit hole that you can go down. But I know a lot of people throw around blockchain technology when describing a lot of other cryptocurrencies and stuff like that. But remember, Bitcoin is the only one that you should be buying. I'll say it right here on this channel. Maybe others are afraid to. Only buy Bitcoin. Don't buy any of this other stuff. Not XRP, not Ethereum. These are centralized coins, meaning that they have a single point of failure. A single point of failure. You're trusting that the CEO of XRP or the US government doesn't squeeze that team and bend them to their will. Good luck bending Bitcoin to your will, because it's just a protocol. It's like bending the kilowatt or bending algebra or changing English, or it's a protocol. It doesn't care. There's no throat to choke. I got that from Kathy Woods. The great thing about Bitcoin is no throat to choke. If you got to go choke somebody and make them do what you want them to do, okay, who you calling in for Bitcoin? Where's the CEO? Satoshi hit the road a long time ago smartly, and there's no centralized board of directors of Bitcoin. It's like swinging at air. It's like swinging at an idea. It's like swinging at a religion or a language, or a math. You can't, and that's its decentralized nature. So Bitcoin is decentralized. The others are not. Bitcoin's a commodity. The others are securities. So if you want to buy the one and only, there's only one decentralized commodity with that's at this scale, that's got this market share. Now, it's not that there aren't others. It's not completely true. There are things like Monero, which are pretty good projects. It's a privacy token. It's decentralized-ish, meaning that um, I don't want to screw this one up too bad. But I'll say this: there are a couple other good projects like Litecoin, um, like Monero. We'll just go with those two as examples, so I don't get crucified too much by the fellow Bitcoiners. Um, but what you need is a large market cap so that the market cannot be manipulated. Because even though Monero and Litecoin are pretty good secure tokens that you could buy, that aren't scammy and that are commodities, I guess, by definition, meaning that they don't have a centralized team that you could manipulate. Um, they're so small that a big financial player could come in and control them. If a Michael Saylor came in with his level of financial commitment, he could control Litecoin and Monero, by just buying a bunch of it and make it go massive swings. And even Bitcoin has this issue as these nation states are starting to come into it. But because it's reached the $2 trillion market cap, it's getting harder and harder and harder to manipulate, because it's got such a diversified, it's spread across the planet. There's lots and lots of wallets. There's hundreds of millions of people that own and hold Bitcoin. It's not a few, it's many. And this is what you mean by decentralized. You're really spreading the risk over miners spread across Bitcoin miners spread across the planet, Bitcoin node operators spread across the planet. Um, you've just got a lot of hodlers that are just holding and buying and holding and not selling. And now that you've got cities and nation states and publicly held companies and private treasuries that are starting to hold it on the balance sheet, it's going to be hard to manipulate Bitcoin when you've got people from all walks of life, institutions from every nation states. Every day that ticks by, it becomes harder and harder and harder to manipulate. And then finally, shout out to all my scammers out there. Thank y'all so much for hardening our network, for teaching the tough lessons that us early stage Bitcoiners, I guess we just have to learn it. I know some people that, gosh, even recently have gotten their Bitcoin stolen from elaborate schemes and scams, pretending to be desk and service centers for known and established hardware wallets. They can still get stolen from. So be careful out there, or you will learn, you will go to the school of hard knots. And so we will probably have a forever group of scammers and thieves out there trying to get anything they can. They're not just after your Bitcoin, they're after all your crypto, they're after all your other meme coins. They're going after that too, including your Bitcoin is just one of the things. It's kind of like when a thief breaks into your house. If a thief sees a gold watch and some diamond earrings, he's not just going to come in there for the diamond earrings and leave all the gold watches and the Rolexes and any other weapons. He's probably taking anything of value. Okay. And so the scammers are coming for anything of value. I would say the Bitcoin is, unless you just leave your 12-word seed phrase just out and about in your home, it's probably going to be the hardest thing for him to take, if he even knows what a Bitcoin hardware wallet looks like. Because some of these are made to look like an old Nokia cell phone or a little calculator. So unless you're familiar with what some of these hardware devices look like, and then a lot of them have these little forward phrases just to get into it. And then, they got to send codes and stuff. So they're super hard to crack. Even if you get your wallet, you got to have the right code. You got to have seed phrases and stuff to get this stuff. So, yeah. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up because I have another show that I'm doing with G Money at 10:30. Hopefully I can live stream that over my X account. Appreciate you guys attending. Appreciate all the questions that my other community is sending me. If you're from the Parks and Rec community, welcome to my nighttime gig. I am now a full-time podcaster and a full-time media and content creator for the industries of Parks and Recreation. Love these guys. By the way, if you see a Parks and Rec employee, or please thank them for keeping our cities beautiful and stuff. And if you're from the Parks and Rec community and I've piqued your interest in the Bitcoin, keep going, keep reading, keep listening, keep understanding. Read some of those books I told you about. Go listen to Jeff Booth, Michael Saylor, Robert Breedlove, Samson Moe. Oh, gosh, I could rattle off Ben with BTC sessions. Maybe go on Spaces and type in Bitcoin. There's a lot of good channels on there, especially my 8 a.m. crew. That's where I learned so much about Bitcoin. Thank you, all of you guys, for investing in me and teaching me along the way, inspiring me to create this channel. But keep learning, keep educating yourself. As the Bitcoin community says, stay humble and stack sats. This is Craig LeBlanc signing off with the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern, Sunday through Thursday, sometimes Friday. Next Thursday, Morgan Stewart will come and finish his third round, and I think we have one more round after that. I'll hopefully see y'all in about maybe 30-ish minutes with G Money, where we will talk all about the new 1776 digital revolution. Craig LeBlanc signing off. See y'all tomorrow. Love you guys. Bye. The system is broken. Inflation is robbing your wealth. Banks control your money. But what if there was a way out? Bitcoin isn't just an asset. It's a revolution, a decentralized, unstoppable financial system built for the people, by the people. This is the Daily Bitcoin Podcast, your front row seat to the future of money. No hype, no noise, just real Bitcoin insights from the industry's top voices. Bitcoin isn't the future. It's happening now. And if you're not paying attention, you're already behind. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Be part of the Bitcoin revolution. Subscribe now to the Daily Bitcoin Podcast.